It seems that when it comes to horses and groundwork and people love obstacles. They love to be able to, ride their horse over bridges or, go over tyres and stand them on tyres. And you know what? It's not a bad thing to do. It really tests where you're at. If I can direct my horse's feet to wherever I want them to go, there should be no reason why I can't ask this mare to step over this tyre. And, at the end of the day, it's kind of cool if you can get them to stand on there. And there's a bit of a technique to doing that, but it's not particularly hard. As with all of the exercises that we do when we get up on the trail course, both under saddle and also on the ground, the important part is to make sure that you have done all of your homework, all of your foundation work away from the obstacles. Make sure that your horse lunges really well. Make sure that it, follows your inclination. Make sure that it's soft and supple and not pulling on the rope. Make sure that when you ask it to go forward, it goes forward. Make sure that when you ask it to stop, it stops. So these sorts of things are a great test for that. And you can just see where your horse is at by putting in an obstacle like this. Now, we will move the obstacle called Patsy. However, this will again test the horse. It's a bit like if you go and watch the video where we did the crowding exercise, you'll see that Patsy climbed up on the log. And that was a great chance to actually see how much the mare was listening to me and how much she was worried about the dog. If you go and watch that, you'll see the mare didn't even flick an ear at the dog. So, the dog has enough sense to move. The horse hopefully has enough sense to do what I ask. So straight away, just like lunging, I ask her to step up on. She suggests that Patsy should move, and Patsy moves. Now, that was really good. Okay, the mare went from standing while I was talking to going forward and going straight over. Perfect. So straight away, I stop her. Okay, she did everything I asked. She was calm and quiet, so she can have a little thinking time before I ask her to step back on again. So all I'm going to do the first couple of times is ask her just to step over. Now you might see as she goes to step over, she will have a bit of a sniff of the tyre. That's a little bit like if you go and look at the float loading videos, you'll see where we let the horses have a sniff of the tailgate or the float floor, just to build their confidence in it. And that's all she's doing. She's reaching down, she's having a sniff, checking that everything's okay. So now, if I ask her to go again. Now this time I'll see if I can get her to stand. Now I've got front feet. But now she's walked off. So again, this time I won't stop her because now I'm stepping it up a little bit. I'm going to ask her to stand on there. Woo. Okay, now if I get my front feet to start with, that's fantastic, okay? That's what I'm looking for. That's a good start. Now what I can do is I can ask her to step her back feet up. Now she steps off, so I just bring her straight back. Woo. Woo. Oh, she steps off again. We go again. Woo. Now she's got it in her head that she should go over it and doesn't really need to stand on it. Woo. Woo. So we're just going to keep asking until she works out what the question is I'm asking her. Woo. You can see she's got a lot of forward momentum when she steps onto the tyre. She's not really, woo. She hasn't really thought about stopping. She kind of just goes straight and goes back over like she just wants to turn around and go straight back over tyre. So I'm trying to just use my hand a little bit to entice her to, woo, slow her feet. You can see I bring my hand back across my body, which is kind of, if I'm asking her to move her shoulders, that's where I get them to where they want to change direction through their shoulders. There, woo, woo. Okay, so, obviously Shadow has done this before, okay? Obviously this is not the first time she's ever seen the tyre, but even that, she hasn't done it for quite some time. So it took a few goes of her walking over it before she started to think about stopping, and that's fair enough. She hasn't got a big heap of room, okay, to stand on there. So it's a little uncomfortable for her. She has to work out exactly what I'm asking. And by working that out, what we did was send her backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, back and forwards, until she worked out that, maybe if I stop here, I can stop. And I would have been quite happy, and you saw I was on a couple of occasions, if she'd have stopped her front feet on the tyre. Okay, that's a really good start. But I never got wound up about it. I never got upset about it. I just kept repeating the question until she gave me the answer that I was looking for. Now, it's really important that you always have your space, established before you actually do this exercise. If this was a mare that was inclined to want to run over me doing exercises like, say, the crowding exercise, or even just when I was lunging, or even if you were standing still and the mare is one of those ones that wants to creep on top of you, our personal space wouldn't have been well enough established that we could have done this well. So, I have to make sure I have personal space, because let's be honest, that mare was to jump off there now and jump over and toward me, it could get very messy. So that's a really important thing to have in place before you start this exercise. Now, yes, she did turn a little bit, like I was going that way, and now she's facing that way. But you know what? She tried, okay? Always reward your slightest try. So that's what we're looking for. Now, let's step her off there. You can see straight away I go to a bum, because that's what I have to move. She might leave her hindquarters up there for me. Now I'm going to move her across and ask her to go back on there again. There's a front end. Woo. You can see I just moved my hand to suggest to her that I would like her to not go forward, but I'd like her to stop her feet. Again, what that does do is it does turn her toward me a little bit, which, can be a little bit compromising if she wants to jump towards me. But this little mare, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm fairly convinced that she's very good with her personal space, and she's not particularly keen to step on top of me. And to prove that, if I ask her to step off, I can keep her moving straight ahead in the direction she was going. Woo. So it's important you use your voice cue. Okay, woo. Now, she's got herself in a bit of an interesting position there. That can't be particularly comfortable. And if you have a look at her bottom lip, she will tell me when she's not really happy with where she is, because her bottom lip starts to flip a bit. And that's a little bit of a tension thing coming through with her. Okay, so as she gets more comfortable with it, that will actually go away. But again, I'm not rushing to move her off. This is the end goal. The end goal is 4 feet on the tyre, her standing there, me doing basically nothing. So when I achieve that, I'm actually not going to be in a rush to ask her to step off. And like I said, this mare probably hasn't been on the tyre for 12 months. And she hasn't done a lot of it. She's had a couple of goes at it. But because all her other groundwork is pretty solid, she's pretty good with it. And that's all I can ask for. So now if I ask her to go back up again. There's no rush. Let her take her time. It's a bit like loading a horse on a float. There is a lot of similarities with this exercise to loading a horse on the float. Woo. Now. Woo. Woo. There's a lot of similarities to that. Getting her, I'm going to let her stop off. That's not comfortable. Don't make it hard for her, okay? Like, she hung that front leg. She was in a position where, woo, she wasn't actually going to step back. That was going to be too hard. But she wasn't comfortable, and I don't really want her stepping, woo. I don't really want her stepping forward without me giving the instruction for her to do it. There's my lick and my chew. Okay, that's what I've been looking for. I've been looking for her to be comfortable with standing on that tyre. You know what? That's where we end the session. Like, that's the first time she stood there. She hasn't shown that flicking of the lip. She's given us a lick and a chew. She's got all 4 feet on there, even if they're only just. And she's actually, shown us what we wanted to do. So, I can't ask for any more than that. So we'll quit her on that. Ultimately, you can ride your horse over things like this, that's what you're going to want to do, because, all this is about exposing your horse to things that they may come across when you're riding them and doing stuff with them. So, we'll call it quits on that one, and we'll go on and do something else with her. And yeah, she's going pretty nicely. I'm pretty happy.